Nintendo hates its hardcore fans. Now, I know that's a radical statement to start a video with, but I will get to why that's true later. And before I get to that, I want to talk about how I am a Nintendo fan. I am one of those people that I feel that Nintendo hates. I mean, I got a Majora's Mask hat on, I got the Star Fox shirt, I got the Pokemon Blue Game Boy. I mean, I've been a fan of Nintendo for a very long time. They still put out so many quality games every year. They've made so many console innovations that the other two brands have tried to copy time and time again and failed. I mean, it looks like they put so much work and effort into their games and their products, but there are definitely some things about the company that need to be fixed. And that was very relevant during the Animal Crossing Direct. Now, during the Animal Crossing Direct, they did unveil some amazing new updates for the game. Almost every feature looks like it's going to be a blast. I'm so glad they're bringing back gyroids because those wacky little creatures are just, I love them. I love gyroids. That was like the main thing I loved about the game for a long time, just collecting them, finding them, and now you can find pieces of them and plant them and regrow them, and they're smaller now so you can put them on desks, and it's interesting. You can make music with them. It's not just this cacophony of noise in your basement as you've been collecting all of them and turned them all on because you're sick. But they really did add a lot of great new content for free. And they did announce, I believe this is the first time ever, paid Animal Crossing DLC. And I have no issue with that. $25 seems a little bit steep, but it's basically the entirety of Happy Home Designer now in the Switch game, which I think is fine for $25. I mean, that was a full-priced 3DS game, if I remember correctly. It was like a $40 game, and now you're getting basically the same thing in your Switch version for $25. So I don't think that's terrible. Normally, Nintendo does a really good job with how they price and how they put together their DLC content. It normally comes with a lot of stuff for what you're paying for. However, something I did not expect during this Direct was finding out how much the expansion pack plus Nintendo Online was going to cost. And the pricing of that is terrible. It is awful. It is another $30 a year to play N64 games and Sega Genesis games. And oh yeah, they threw the Animal Crossing DLC in there too, but still, it's not worth $30 extra a year to access that content. If they want to charge $25 for the Animal Crossing DLC, I get that. If you want to charge maybe $10 extra a year to access N64 games and Sega Genesis games, I still think that's a bit of a ripoff, but you know what? Whatever. At least you're adding new stuff, and maybe you'll add more N64 games and Sega Genesis games down the line. But $30 extra a year for a service that is just unforgivable. It's unjustifiably bad. Nintendo Online lacks the basic features that Xbox Live has had since the original Xbox. Hell, if you want to say it has most of those things from the original Xbox, just say the 360. That console is still ancient. Nintendo is so behind the times when it comes to their online's infrastructure and everything about it. From the way that you can't have a party chat unless you're using some sort of phone app for very specific games, to the cloud. They kept having all these weird restrictions because they didn't want people to cheat at single-player games, even though their multiplayer games were full of cheaters anyway. Plus, the online itself really isn't that great for a lot of games. I mean, I remember having plenty of buggy matches of Mario Kart. Super Smash Bros. Was pretty much unplayable for a while. Animal Crossing, I kept disconnecting when I had more than like 2 people on my island. And no, it's not my local connection. It's not my internet connection because I have no problems with the Xbox, PlayStation, or my computer. And yet they knew people would pay for it because people want to play online with their friends. Even though the infrastructure isn't great, we wanted some way to do it. And even though the Wii U was free, everybody was buying a Switch, so they knew they could take advantage of that situation and charge $20 a year for access to that online. Which again, not that much money, but they're not providing anything more than they did with the Wii U besides the OK cloud system, which I think is free on the Xbox without even paying for gold, if I remember correctly. and I know for a fact is free on Steam without paying for anything. Now let's get back to why I feel that Nintendo hates their core audience, people like me. Because the thing is, most people are not going to be super excited about N64 games unless they grew up with them. And yeah, I'm sure there are younger people that want to try these N64 games, but the people that really wanted these on the go, on their Switch, at a higher fidelity, they're people like me. People that was their first system, was the N64, and they were really looking forward to playing it on their brand new system. And it costs Nintendo next to nothing because it's just emulation of titles they already own. So we were hoping that they would just add that to the service and we would be able to do that. But no, they instead decided to charge us $30 extra a year for access to, 20-plus-year-old games that we can already emulate on our own. I think we're seeing the real reason that Nintendo has been so up in arms about emulation over these years, well, since forever, and it's because they want to resell us these games every single year. Notice we can't buy these games, we can't own them, we're not allowed to own them, we're allowed access to playing them, which I don't think is right. I think that's pretty stupid. There's no way for us to own these games anymore without paying $30 extra a year to have access to them. More and more, the games industry is separating us from actually owning the product, which, again, I know I'm a big fan of Game Pass, but I like Game Pass because I get to try a bunch of different stuff. If there's a game on Game Pass that I want to play through, I normally buy it because I know at some point it's going to be off that service and I want to actually own it. On Nintendo, there's no way to do that. You can't own any of these virtual console games because they don't sell them anymore. There's no way to legally own these games anymore unless you go on eBay and pay these incredibly inflated prices for something that Nintendo's not going to get paid for anyway. It's like Nintendo is just taking advantage of the fact that we want to relive our childhood, and that sucks. And to address the people in the comments that are just going to say, well, Nintendo can do what they want, it's their property, yeah, of course they can. And I'm free to say whatever I feel, and this is how I feel. I feel that they're just taking advantage of the people like me that want to play these games on the go and relive their childhood. And you're right, they are more than welcome to charge for it, but I feel like $30 is exorbitant. And don't mention the Animal Crossing DLC, okay? Unless we're seeing a ton of other DLCs come out that are included in the expansion pack, it's not worth $30 a year. If you included all of the Smash fighters in that, we'd be saying something different here. I'd be saying something completely different. If you started including every single DLC that came out for Nintendo games and that was the expansion pack, and it was $30 extra a year, that would be incredible. I'd be singing their praises. I'd be like, Nintendo's got their own Game Pass. Nintendo knows what's up. They love their customers. They love the people that are dedicated to buying their platforms, and they're showing that they're going to give you true value for your membership. But instead, I'm sitting here going, why are you charging $30 for access to N64 games and one piece of paid DLC for a game that a lot of people might not own? Now, Spawnwave Media had an interesting take on all of this, that Nintendo is moving from an online service that includes games to a game service that includes an online service. I get that. That might be what they're trying to do, but I would argue that either side of the coin still sucks. Their online infrastructure, I just broke down how worthless that thing is and how outdated it is. And their game service, really? Would you be happy if you were paying for a service? Let's say Game Pass again, because it's a game service, or PlayStation, whatever their PlayStation thing's called. If you're paying for one of those things and they have like 50, 60 games, are you happy? Are you okay with paying for that? I don't think so. I don't think there's a great incentive there to be paying for 50, 60 games, and all of those are 20-year-old plus games. I can't imagine paying for something like that. If I was going to pay for a retro service, I feel like it would have to come with a lot more games. I mean, I could make a whole video on why I feel that Nintendo hates their core audience. I mean, there are so many other reasons I didn't even mention. It sucks to see Nintendo doing this because Nintendo they make such great stuff. And it sucks that they treat their fans like this. I'm still going to be a Nintendo fan. I'm still going to play Nintendo games, but over time, I'm just becoming less of a fan, and I'm less able to put up with their BS. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about this Nintendo situation, and of course, like the video if you guys like it, subscribe for more content, and have a Fanta fantastic day. This little man decided he had to be at the end of my video because he was whining at the door. You can't be alone for 10 minutes.